Dead as a Doornail, Book 6 of the Stan Kraychik Mysteries. Author, Grant Michaels. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 24. It's 7 o'clock, and Snip Salon is still busy. The shop is always busy. Sometimes I wonder if it's busy even when it's closed. Maybe being the sole beneficiary of Nicole's estate isn't such a bad idea. But I don't want to linger on that thought. Nicole has a client. I go and dawdle near her manicure table. She glances up briefly from her work to greet me, then, with her attention focused intently back on her customer's hand, she says to me, "You look a bit washed out, dear. I feel like I just saw a bad movie. You spent this beautiful day cooped up in a dark theater. I was at home, doll. Not watching those videos again." "No!" "Well," she says, "daytime television is just as bad. I still say you need a job, dear." "Nikki, I wasn't watching TV." She looks at me again, and this time she actually sees me. "Something's on your mind." I nod. She says to me, "We're almost finished here." She smiles generously to her client as if to assure her she's not getting the bum's rush. Then Nicole tells me to go wait in the back office for her. Back there, I pour myself some bourbon and wait. 5 minutes later, Nikki comes rushing in. She pours herself some coffee, then sits down and lights a cigarette. So much for the non-smoking Nicole. "But non-drinking? At night?" I mention it. Nicole says, "I'm working, Stanley." "Since when did that stop you?" "Just tell me what's on your mind, dear. I'm booked solid tonight, and I really can't afford to take a break." "Since when are you a model of workplace efficiency?" "We can't afford 2 laggards in the family." I tell her I spent the last 2 hours listening to police interviews. She says, "That's very good news. I'm glad that you and the lieutenant are cooperating again. Now, I really must go back to Nikki. These tapes I was listening to, they're police tapes. The real thing." "I understand, darling, and I'm happy for you. I knew Vito would come around." "Not quite," I say. "They're copies." Nicole arches an eyebrow. Copies?" "Someone owed me a favor." Well, she says. "So we're on the other side of the law now." "Business as usual for gays." "Don't start that with me, Stanley. You have a very good life. Better than most people, in fact. Just because the law doesn't explicitly provide a separate Bill of Rights for people like you doesn't mean—" "Nikki, you sound like Branco now. And you're revving up like some activist. Frankly, dear, it doesn't suit you. Now, what is the problem?" "The problem, I say, is on those tapes. It's obvious that Branco is siding with the one straight white male suspect." "Well, can you blame him?" "Nikki! Whose side are you on?" "Yours, of course," she says. "And it sounds to me as though you're just having your usual problems with the lieutenant." "No, this time it's different. Branco's job, and any cop's job, is to uphold the law, not to show favoritism to someone who shares the same socio-sexual corral." Nicole's eyes cross slightly. "When you talk like that, Stanley, I think I'm against higher education. I wonder what you'd say if Vito showed favoritism to you." "There's little chance of that." "That's where you're wrong, Stanley." "Nikki, why are you taking his side?" "I'm not taking sides." She gets up, grabs a styrofoam cup, and pours herself a generous portion of bourbon. I say, "I'm driving you to drink?" "Don't flatter yourself," she says, then downs a good solid shot from the cup. She sits down again and takes a long, slow drag from a cigarette. "Now, I recognize you, doll," she says briefly. "Who cares that my customers are waiting for me? It's more important that you tell me what the big, horrid brute did to you this time." "Branco didn't do anything." "Then what?" she says. He's going to arrest Thorne Hightower for killing Tim Shaughnessy." "Why does that upset you?" says Nicole. "Because Thorne is a sensitive, artistic man who happened to love Tim. And he thinks the big, bad lieutenant should not arrest him because of that?" "Well," I hesitate, "Thorne does look pretty guilty." "Stanley," she says, "is it possible that the lieutenant is right this time? Maybe you're upset because things aren't quite turning out the way you expected?" I am not upset. Of course not, she says calmly. But am I on the right track? Kind of, I mutter. Nicole takes another long, deep drag from her cigarette. As she exhales a big cloud of smoke, she makes a pronouncement. The truth, Stanley, is often unpleasant. I feign a cough. Nikki continues. I'm sure the lieutenant has good cause for his actions. He's basing the charge on evidence that was found at the crime scene. There you see, says Nicole. Despite your cynicism, Stanley, the police do know their work. Don't be too sure, doll. It's all circumstantial, and the police aren't even the ones who found this so-called evidence. And how do they know about it? That was a little matter of blackmail. I give her a condensed version of the purloined tapes. Goodness, she says when I finished. Right, I say. There was a lot of foot traffic in my place yesterday morning. I wonder if any of them were in there more than once. Nikki, let's not even consider the possibility. And it all comes down to Thorne killing Timmy? That's what it looks like. But you don't believe it. Would you, doll? But why not him, Stanley? I hesitate. Thorne seems too sensitive. She says, but darling, that's just your opinion, and that could be exactly the kind of thing that Thorne tries to portray. That a sensitive soul like him could never do anything against another person. But you never know who might be hiding under a veneer of sensitivity. Like what? A serial killer? Then you tell me, Stanley. Who would you accuse? It's whom, darling? And I damn Myron. He's obviously lying about everything. How do you know that? I don't, I admit sheepishly. It's more of a feeling again. And perhaps that feeling is influenced by your dislike for this Myron person. Who said I disliked him? Your face, Stanley. Your face twists up just saying his name. Isn't that what Branco was doing too, Thorne? Basing his judgment on an emotional response? Isn't that what juries do? Why shouldn't I? Well, darling, says Nicole, this seems like just another repeat performance. I'm sure things will work out. They always do. You have to focus on the brighter things. Like what? I say. Maybe you should take a trip somewhere. Clear your mind. I already tried that, Nikki, remember? Yes, Stanley, but this time you should do it for fun. Yeah, well, Branco wants me to go on vacation too. With him? Her eyes blaze brightly. No, doll. Our universe doesn't have physics like that. She exhales a fluffy cloud of smoke. You never know, Stanley. You just never know about these things. Nikki, I don't need a vacation, and I don't want a vacation. Well then, she says, come back to work. We can set things up here at the shop exactly how they were before you got all that money. You can be Vanos again. And then at least you'll have a social life. Vanos is dead, doll. Then pick a new name, she says. The important thing, Stanley, is that you'll have a creative outlet. You know how important that is to you, and your clients will bestow gifts and compliments on you. It can be wonderful. Why do you want to turn your back on all that? There's someone I wish would turn his back on me. She ignores that remark. Why, just this morning, one of my clients brought me a huge box of truffles from Arbard. You know that place down the block? Nicole takes the box from the desk drawer and holds it toward me. My stomach lurches at the sight of the gaily decorated bulletin. I hold up my hand to keep the box at bay. No, she says. I thought you loved these things. She opens the box and smells them. Heavenly. She offers the open box to me. This time I put up both hands. Really? She says. You're not dieting again, are you? No, don't. I'm just not in the mood. She smells the chocolates again. You know, you could probably die from these things, although how can anyone eat more than one? She puts the open box on the table in front of me. As if on cue, the half-pound of fresh cream chocolate truffles I devoured at home begins dispensing its peptic consequences. Nicole says, You have that washed-out look again, dear. Maybe you'd better go home and lie down. Maybe I'd better, I say. And don't worry about the lieutenant, she says. I'm sure everything will work out fine between you. It always does. She puts out her cigarette and leaves her bourbon unfinished. When she's out of the office, I cover the chocolates and put them away. I have to avert my gaze as I do it. Then I down the rest of her bourbon. No sense wasting good liquor. Besides, it might help settle my stomach. I leave the shop by the back door. Back home, I'm lying in bed. It's around 10 o'clock, and I'm tossing and turning, trying one side, then the other, then on my back, then my stomach, then with my head elevated, then legs elevated. But nothing helps. The fact is, a few hours ago, I consumed about 2 million grams of fat in one sitting, and now the piper must be paid. I've listened to the interview tapes again, too, and those final seconds between Branco and Chip on the last tape are really bothering me now. Partly I'm furious that the cop just about condones Chip's assault on Myron, but I'm also feeling a little jealous. Branco treats Chip with compassion and understanding, like a whole person, and it's only because they're both straight. It probably works that way in the Marines, too. It's some drunken night. A lonely recruit finds himself in a dark alley with his pants around his ankles, taking it up the butt. Well, as long as he makes suitable sounds of regret to his commanding officer, then all is forgiven. No court-martial, and he's still a man. But if he bathes first and does the same deed on clean sheets, come on! The guy's a fag. The phone rings. I heave the 50-pound receiver to my ear. Oh, I say. Penny? Oh, hi, Benji. Penny, you sound like Debbie Doom. I ate something that didn't agree with me. Those things work out one way or another. Thanks, Benji. Hey, I hear you changed your hair. Who told you that? Someone on a backroom chat line. A what? I say. Benji explains. I logged onto a local chat line, and someone was saying that Stan Kraychik looks like a Marine now. If that's how the gospel, according to Haranet, perceives me, maybe all I need to get a date is a dark alley and a uniform. I'm sorry, Colonel, I was drunk. He forced me. Penny, you have secret admirers on the internet? I don't know if that's good or bad. There is no good or bad in cyberspace. Benji, some real person is punching real keys somewhere out there. Is it possible to find out who it was? One of the benefits of the net is that you're relatively anonymous. But someone must know who's on there. I mean, people pay to do this, right? Penny, I only told you because I thought you'd be flattered. That's not even why I called. I'm calling because I got a phone call from a cop. Oops. Sorry, Benji. I meant to warn you about that. Oh, no problem, Penny. Actually, we had a very nice chat. Very impromptu. You know, the kind I like best. It was Lieutenant Branco, right? Is he the one who gives you wet dreams? I never said that. You don't have to, Penny Pop. You hear that voice and you're ready to do whatever it tells you. The effects wears off, Benji. I hope not. So what did Branco ask you? He wanted to verify the sources of the information I told you. You know, about the SCCA deal and Gardenia construction and all that? He seemed to know all about it. Did he take notes on you or something? Branco is very methodical. So what's the story, Penny? Closet doors or beaded curtains? Neither, I say, but I'm wondering why Branco would bother to call Benji if he already has his suspect in Thorn Hightower. Is he just confirming what I told him? Doesn't he have better things to do? Benji says, that voice of his, I can still hear it. You ought to see the rest of the package. Please tell me he's a troll, please! He's a troll, Benji. You lie! I lie. Oh, well, that voice of his piqued my interest, so I did a little research on Mr. Branco. Wait till you hear what I found, Penny. This is capital H-O-T, hot. And you're hearing it directly from me right now before it hits the papers. Okay, Benji. You've got my attention. Shoot. Oh, I love it when redheads talk dirty. I'm not a redhead anymore, remember? Too bad, he says. Anyway, by now you are probably too familiar with Gardenia and Sons, the Molto Homofoco construction company? Yes, Benji, yes. Well, they just applied for a change of name and it's been approved, and I thought you'd want to hear about it. That's why I'm calling. Oh, Penny Pits! Online snooping is so much fun. Benji, the envelope, please. Oh, okay. Penny, okay. Here we go. Gardenia and Sons construction is soon to be redubbed. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Gardenia, Branco, and Sons. Isn't that something, Penny? Penny, are you there? I'm here, Benji. I thought the line went dead. Something did. He says it's going to be in all the papers tomorrow, but I thought you'd want to be the first to know, especially considering, if I may say so, dearest Penny thing, your peculiar liaison with a certain member of the newly extended Gardenia family? Does the article actually say that the Gardenias are now linked to the Boston police through Lieutenant Branco? No, says Benji. It's just a notice of a corporate name change. I'm the one who made the connection. For all I know, it could be another Branco altogether, not yours. He's not mine, I say. Too bad, huh? Says Benji. And you found out about this on the internet? Yes, he says. I'm telling you, you've got to get online. Of course you have to know where to look, which I do. I have that nose for news. That's how I got so far, so fast in this new job. And I thought it was your excelling gag control. Penny! Legend has it you never come up for air. When did you hear that? The old-fashioned way. Who? When? Where? Says Benji. One of your exes was talking in the styling chair. It should have been the electric chair. Benji, it's a compliment to be known for a breathless blow. Penny, please, I'm blushing. And I'm getting a PhD in Bible art. Uh-oh, says Benji. Here comes the boss. Then he hangs up quickly, just like the other time. One good thing, Benji's effervescence has magically cured my heartburn. Then, since there's nothing else to occupy me, now that Branco has his prime suspect in the murder of Tim Chignasi, I haul out the vacation brochures I got earlier today. I might as well do what Branco says I do best, have fun. The guy obviously doesn't know me from Adam or Marine. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.